When answering an incoming call on the Allworks phone, it'll show up on one of the call appearance lines as shown, and it will also show on your screen. You can either answer by hitting the speaker button or by picking up the handset. Hello? Hi. And as you can see also on the call assistant, it's showing that this call is coming in and how long.
Expose you to some different ways of doing business. And I know you talk amongst yourselves, both on conference calls, off conference calls, emailing each other, talking about different ways of doing business. We wanted to make sure you're exposed to a few agents. Today, unfortunately, we only have time for 2 agents. But I tried to choose some agents that stand out with regard to some specific things they're doing with their business. And there are several others. Frankly, we could dedicate the entire day to having people come up here in a roundtable fashion and introducing us to how they manage customers, how they manage their business. Because I think there's a lot to learn. And again, that's one of the things, one of the reasons we believe that having a community, having a vibrant community that interacts is so important, because people come across different models and different methods of doing business. Well, we've got two of those today. The first team I'm going to introduce you to is Tim and Lori O'Rourke. I think you all know Tim and Lori. Lori, of course, runs our commission. Tim has been a fantastic agent, and Lori works with him in retention, and they've done an unbelievable job. As we go back and look through the numbers in terms of retention, they are some of the best retaining agents within Telarus, and there's a reason for that. It doesn't happen by chance. The reason is they have a system set up. The way they manage their customers, they keep them around for a long time. And as we've talked about before, as you all know, when it comes to residual income, if you can keep your customers around forever, you don't have to sell anything anymore. Of course, that's not very likely. Customers will go away, customers go out of business, but you'll be able to grow much larger as you do keep them for a longer period of time. And that's what we do when we retain. And I'm going to turn the time over to Tim and to Lori to talk about how they structure their business, how they work with their customers, and really open you up to why they have some of the best retention of all Telarus agents. Tim and Lori.
Hi everyone. This is kind of strange for me talking on a microphone. Mike back there said, just hold it up like a telephone, Tim. See if this works any better. Hey, there's lots that we can talk about here with our specific business and the way we do things. But specifically, we've been asked to talk about customer retention. And just to give you a little bit of history of where this comes about 2 years ago, a little bit more than 2 years ago, we were sitting here looking at our business saying, we've kind of hit a glass ceiling here. It was pretty much just me on the business side and working with clients, consulting with them, making solutions and selling those solutions, and supporting the customer. And Lori has always, ever since we've been within the agency realm here, Lori has always done anything related to money, anything related to commissions. So amen to that. I darn near flunked out of accounting in college. So anyways, what we decided to do is I actually flew out when Lance lived in Chicago and consulted with him a little bit, getting some ideas. Thank you, Lance. And Adam and Patrick, of course, and some other folks. This was before James was my channel manager. But we came up with some ideas. What do we need to do in order to get past this level and grow the business? So obviously that gets into it's in my pocket. Okay. That obviously gets into admin, but specifically what we're talking about here is retention of customers. So what I needed to do is I needed to clear my schedule where I could focus on new business. I could focus on consulting with new clients and even existing clients, but I needed somebody to make sure that my existing base over here was staying stable. These customers are happy. We're continuing to grow these customers, so that's where Lori comes into place. So here on the slide here, obviously we talked a little bit about consultation. And by the way, before I get into that, the numbers, and go ahead and share, you can share some of the numbers if you'd like. The numbers are just unbelievable. This last year, we look at the numbers for retention and actually farming an existing customer base. and compared to brand new sales of relationships that we don't already have. And the numbers are phenomenal, I'm here to tell you. So obviously, consultation to build a trusting relationship during the sales process, as well as during the contracting process, and then actually getting into provisioning and keeping in contact with the client. Making sure that they feel comfortable and they know that you're knowledgeable and you're looking out for their best interests. So what we did here in this process is when I sell a service to a client, whether it's a new client or existing client, what I do is I send out an email to that client. Generally, it's about a week after the order is placed, and it just is basically thank you again for your business. We appreciate your business. By the way, I want to introduce you to my customer support specialist, Lori, who will be contacting you within the next couple of weeks. So that goes out to them, and they're expecting Lori's call. So when Lori does call, they know exactly who she is and why she's calling, and then she establishes that relationship and strengthens that relationship. So I'm going to hand it over to Lori here, and she can, Lori's kind of my secret sauce here.
We already do that.
Okay. I've never talked to one of these mics, but after hearing Tim talking it and hearing how loud his voice is, I want to take it home because he can't hear me most of the time. And if I have a mic and I can talk real loud, I think that will work. Okay. So like Tim said, he sends out a thank you to any customer that comes on board, whether it's a new customer or an existing customer. We thank everybody for their renewal, for their new service, or just a new relationship. And once he does that, he creates a task for me, which he neglected to mention there, but he creates a task for myself, and he sets it out a couple of weeks later. And once I see that task, I now know that I need to reach out to this customer, introduce myself, and when I do that, I just give them a description of who I am and what I do and what my services are for them. I let them know how to reach me, why to reach me, and I do this with every contact within that company. Even though I may not reach those people in the future, if there's 3 or 4 different people that he spoke to during the time, maybe an IT person, the owner, a bar partner, I talk with every single one of them. If a bar partner's involved, I reach to them first, so I can create a relationship with the bar partner and make sure I can talk to their customer on their, on Tim's behalf also. So that way I can start a relationship with the bar partner too. So I send out, or I call each one of these people, introduce myself, and then I just follow up with a real simple email. Just thank you for your time on the telephone today, and provide all my contact information. And it's as simple as that. In that conversation, 9 times out of 10, I learn a lot more about the customer than Tim knew on the personal side. So I'm able to maybe make a couple notes about their kids or their recent trip, and every time I talk to them, our personal relationship grows much deeper. So again, what I do when I speak with the customers is my whole focus is just to strengthen that relationship for Tim, so he doesn't have to work so hard to get all the new sales. We want to keep our base and continue to grow that base. So that's my goal, is just to create that personal side of the relationship. He has the business side of the relationship, and I have the personal side of the relationship. So that's what we try to attempt to do. And what I do is I reach out to these people every 2 to 3 months. I call them, depending on their services, how many sites they have, their potential, and how often they want me to call them. Some people just say, hey, I'm doing great, keep me an email next time. And that's fantastic. I just do what they ask me to do. But I reach them about every 2 to 3 months just to say hi. Most of the time, these conversations are 30 seconds. Just, hey, how you doing? How's everything working for you? It's great. Thanks so much for your call. And that's it. We always know when I call customers and they don't answer the phone, Tim knows, because within a day, he usually gets a phone call from the customer saying, oh, Lori triggered my memory. I need a new circuit. So we always know that they get my messages and they know what we're doing. I also follow up with renewals. That's been the key for us. Tim mentioned numbers, and I can't remember, Adam, you might know off the top of your head. I think this year, for our numbers, we had about 80% of our total was renewals and farming of the existing base. So of total dollars, we had very, very few new customers come in, which really bothered me until Adam made me feel better by letting me know it's more important to keep that existing base in place. But I send out the renewals about 2 months beforehand. If I see a renewal coming up, I call the customer and I let them know, you got a renewal coming up, we've got some options. What would you like to do? Are you happy with your existing service? Is there changes in your business that we need to focus on? And anytime that happens, I just pass that call right over to Tim. So a lot of times they say, no, it's perfect, send me the contract renewal. We do it, we're done. Many times people need an additional service. They need to bump their bandwidth. They want to look at integrated access or Ethernet, something different. I just walk over to Tim's office and hand him my phone, and that's it. I don't know anything on the technical side, and I don't want to know anything on the technical side. So that's why it works so well just to hand that right back, and we keep our roles completely separate at that point.
We're real high tech up at Phil System. She walks in my office.
And as Mark earlier pointed out, our phones don't work either. Yeah, or Skype. That is, many people have asked us how we work together as far as our tasks. How do we stay on task where I can assign something to Tim or he can assign it back to me? And the most technical way we figured out is Skype. It really works because I don't know if Tim texts his tasks very often, so I just Skype him instead. So whatever works is how you need to run your business. This is what works for us, but take the theory and run with it for you. What I do with the customers, I simply assist them with their billing and circuit issues. People will call me to tell me their circuits are down, and I'll call in for them so they don't have to worry about it. Or they have a problem with their billing, and I take care of it for them. So it's really just somebody for them to kind of do their grunt work that they don't want to do, but they really appreciate everything I do for them. So it's made the relationship strong. And then the last part of it is just growing those existing relationships to get more business out of it. And every time I talk to somebody, I ask them for opportunities. Do you have any other sites, any other services I can support you on? Where do you have your voice lines at? I just ask them simple questions like that, and I ask them for the referrals. The greatest compliment I think anybody can give you is a referral. And I make sure and ask them for the referrals and ask them if I can do anything better to help assist them or to make them want to refer me to their colleagues. We do get quite a few referrals coming in, and a lot of times it's from the same people referring you, and we like to thank those people. So if we do get a referral, Tim usually picks up the phone at that point and calls those people up and just thanks them for their trust and appreciation of that referral. As opportunities arise, I'll price it at easy ones, like a T1 or a Honda T1, but everything else, I just kick right back to Tim. I know that's something that many people have asked is how much technology side, how far do I go? I don't go at all. I don't want to, and that's Tim's expertise. So I'm just there to kind of be their friend and to create that relationship, and that's what's worked really well for us. And every time I need something, I just walk, like Tim said, I walk in and I hand them the phone, and here you go. So it works real well for us.
One of the common threads here is obviously the task manager. The task manager works very, very well for us. We found a way to use it where things don't fall between the cracks. So again, this is our business model. Whatever bits and pieces each of you may take away from it, that's the whole purpose for us being up here. One question I want to ask the group, though, I was in this boat. That's the reason I want to ask this group. How many of you have an aging customer base that you might be a little leery about reaching out to that client to renew them, just because you haven't contacted them frequently? Quite a few? Yeah, I'm here to tell you, do it. Just pick up the phone, because the difference that we make here as agents, as good agents, is the communication that we have with for as long as they're a client of ours. So, from the direct side, the directs don't like to hear this, of course, but from the direct side, generally, when they sell service to a customer, they contact that customer if they're interested in the sale. The customer doesn't hear from them a lot. Sometimes they don't hear from them at all. So that's the difference that we provide, is keeping in contact with our clients, making sure that their needs are being met. We're watching their billing, we're watching what services are doing from various carriers, and we're keeping them informed of that. And they greatly appreciate that. So they see that as a huge value. So I would just, that's again another real big key within our business model. We'll open it up for Q&A. Paul?
You don't find that by calling them all the time, you're just getting more and more action items to do throughout your day?
Actually, yes, you do, but a lot of those action items are action items that are going to grow your business. I mean, they might be additional sites that you never knew anything about, or additional services. Maybe you have data services with a client. That client has voice services as well. Well, guess what? If they decide they really like you and you're providing better support than this carrier over here that they didn't talk to you about earlier, they're going to say, hey, Paul, we have this site here, or hey, at this site that we have your data services, let's talk about voice services.
I have one follow-up question for Lori. In my part of the situation that I had personally, he's not only my wife that make these calls and you said you don't know anything about telecom, but again, you're calling on behalf of a customer to a knock, and you're interfacing with that, saying the line's down, here's the situation. Is there anything special that you know? Those kind of calls and that kind of follow-up? Yeah, how'd you get to that point?
If the circuit goes down, I call into the carrier on behalf of the customer, and I let them know that it's down, and I give them their contact information, and a lot of times the carrier turns around and calls right back to my customer, but my customer doesn't have to sit on that telephone for 20 minutes, which they hate to do. So I'm just bridging the gap for them is all I'm doing. So, but no, I don't have any technology background, and like I said, I don't talk about that to them at all.
Let me follow up on that. One of the key things that I always say to a customer, they are in business to focus on their core competencies. Your core competency is the telecom, datacom arena, and that's the value that you add there. If you can help them in that arena where they don't have to, call an XYZ carrier, wait on hold to talk to somebody to actually fix a circuit issue or a billing issue, whatever the issue is, generally they really appreciate that because now they're not wasting their time doing that.
To customer, it's refreshing not to hear the salesperson because a lot of people put up their defenses when the person who signed them the contract is calling them, of course, to sell them again, depending on whether they see you as a consultant or a salesperson. And hearing her voice is different. It's customer management, it's customer relationship. And, if you need to, yeah. Absolutely not. No, Tim is very consultative in his approach. He's very good with his customers. All right, I'd like to bring up another fantastic agent that does a great job, and they really stand out with regard to the interview and management process. They've been through more resumes, probably than everyone here combined, more interviews, I'm guessing again, than everyone here combined. And they've hired people, and they've learned through experience what it takes. And they've got a great process going on now. They've got a great employee. We talked about this. I believe we started 2 years ago to talk about building a team and building, more people on your team to help. Because as you heard Tim say, he just got weighed down. Every agent here who's managing more than 100 customers is absolutely overwhelmed. And you've got to have more than yourself. We can only automate so much. At some point, you've got to talk to customers. and 100 people, you just can't automate that. With 100 people, you need more, especially when you get into 200 or so customers. So some fantastic systems being set up. I want to bring up Dennis and Kristen Green to discuss what they do. And we learned quite a bit from them with regard to the hiring and managing process of employees. And they're like many of you, they work out of their homes, so they've got some of the same concerns and issues that you may have thought of. Chris has some notes, so we're going to see if we can move this.
Okay, I'm doing the talking because I like to talk, and I have notes to keep myself on track so I don't go too much over the time here. Employees have allowed us to just enjoy increased success and experience more balance in our lives. So we were asked to talk to you today about why we hire and kind of how we go through the process of hiring and working with our employees. This is a picture here of Dennis being stretched for time without employees. So I guess the biggest reason why we do hire employees is because Dennis feels that he can't adequately complete all important aspects of the business by himself. Some of the things that we do, and you all do the same things too, calling new customers immediately. We found that slow follow-up leads to the customer being less receptive to when we call, and it gives them more opportunity to inquire to our competitors. Following up with customers who have not yet signed. If we recommend a service or a provider to a customer and we don't follow up, we maximize the potential, or we do not maximize the potential for building a good rapport with that customer. And we've also noticed that without timely follow-up, customers are more apt to go around us directly to providers or to utilize our suggestions with other master agencies who may have been more diligent in their follow-up. Following up with customers who have signed, and we just heard some great training on that. Lori's given training in the past, and I've learned a lot from her. And so the lack of follow-up with our customers, obviously results in less loyalty at renewal time. And good follow-up obviously leads to referrals. Following up with our partners, again, lack of follow-up reduces our ability to build good rapport with our partners, and we want to gain their trust and their confidence. And when we can do this, we get more and more referrals from them as well. filling out applications, creating quotes, verifying quotes that are NGO quote. You know, if we can take this off the dentist's desk, it allows him to spend more time talking to customers and the bar partners. And more reasons why we decided to hire an employee. Dennis does love to work. This guy loves to work. He loves his business. He works all the time. But for him, it's just nice not to feel like he's obligated to do that or is required to do that without letting important duties slide. Also, it's a goal of ours to strive for balance. You know, not working so many hours, more church and fun and recreation. We really have been enjoying. Dennis loves to fish. Just enjoying, you know, fun time together. That's important to us as well. Employees also help us work toward our business growth, and you know, that quality growth is an important goal of our business. It is expensive to have good employees, but for us, we just look at it as an investment in the future of our business. If you're going to hire someone, I know now after hearing Tim and Lori, everybody wants to go out and hire Lori, or a Lori. Yes, we do too. Yeah, we need her. You need to determine a budget. Determine how much you can afford to pay someone to work for you. And then also determine what you want them to do, what you need them to do. We're going to give you some suggestions here in a few minutes, but you can also talk to your channel managers to get some ideas for your business if you're not quite sure what you would have an employee do. Although I'm sure many of you would know right now that you would have someone do to help you. You know, research local salaries for comparable jobs. You can go to employment agencies. There's temp agencies. Different you know, resources like that in your area can give you some ideas about what an assistant would cost you by the hour or a salary if you choose to pay salary. And you need to look at advertising. We found that where we live in a rural area, there's not a lot of competition for employment classified, so it was very expensive to advertise for employees, where in Seattle, where there's a lot of competition in that market, for the newspapers and things like that. It was just a lot less expensive, so we were shocked at how much it was going to cost us. And for us, Craigslist was not an option because we were in such a rural area, but I know if you live in a larger metro area, Craigslist is an option. And we find that the most important factor in hiring someone is, do you want them in your house? And this is your home, and you're going to have find someone at your home to work with you. So you need to think about that. Someone you're going to feel comfortable having around your home and your family. For, I don't know, if you decide to have them full-time or even part-time, it's just really important. When we interview someone, we do have application forms and reference release forms. You can get these at office stores or online. You can even develop your own if you wish. The next thing that we do is we develop a list of questions. And some examples that we ask people are, like, please describe what you've learned or know from your experience working with the public. You know, if someone says, oh, the customer's always right, you know, that's kind of like junior high, you know, customer service versus, you know, I've learned that you really need to listen to the customers. And we really need to listen to people to you know, the answers that they give to questions like that will tell you a lot about them. Another question that we came up with is, tell me about a problem you had with the supervisor. And that will also give you a lot of insight into what type of person they are, their employee. And we also test. We test extensively. Our interview process can take about 2.5 hours. And we test because we want to determine their skill level. And not all experience can be validated. Where we live, there have been a lot of businesses that are no longer in business, and so when employees use them as a reference, and that experience that they've had in that business, we need to determine if they've actually done that, and to what extent. Because, again, people don't always tell the truth in interviews about their past experience. We found that to be true as well. Going through the testing process, it helps, it prevents us from having to let go of that employee. We know basically kind of what we're getting when we hire somebody. And we test writing skills. And one of the things that we do is we ask them to write about themselves for 15 minutes. And this, you know, shows us their grammar level. It, you know, if there's an organizational flow to what they write, that's really, it shows us a lot about, you know, where they're at. And also it tells us about them. And very motivated people we find will write a lot in 15 minutes. If people are not so motivated, maybe, they'll get a paragraph in or something. But that's just one other way that we kind of can tell what kind of person we'll begin. When we start to work with someone, we just found that we get to draw the boundaries up front. So we developed a list of expectations for our employees. And we include things like attendance and timeliness. For example, call if you can't make it, call if you're not going to be on time. We put things like that on there. Work performance, always speak to customers in a professional manner. You'd be surprised how, we've had employees who felt that it wasn't important to sound polite on the phone if they were in a bad mood. So we made sure that that was in the expectations, that they always sound professional, and regardless of how the customer is behaving. So that's something that's very important to us. And also, any special house rules. We designate areas of our home and offer those to employees, and we felt this was very important, so that they understood that they're in our home to work, it's not their home. And they can't, swan around like in our bedroom or the garage or something, look for stuff or whatever. And we have that, we present that to them the first day that they come to work, and we have a signature line on there. And I give them a copy for themselves, and we keep a copy in their employment file. We develop tasks for them, and we learn how to use the task manager and how to prioritize those, which we all do that in our business. We're going to get to the training part. I'm going to give this to you. This is an order of how we train, not just what we train. This is exactly what we do first. We train them on how to answer the phones, what to say and how to say it. It's really important. For example, if you say, "Thank you for calling the office of Dennis Green. This is Kristen. How may I help you?" It sounds very different than, "Thank you for calling the office of Dennis Green. This is Kristen. How may I help you?" There was a movie we saw a few years ago. There was a character in it, and she kept saying, "This one time at band camp," and throughout the whole movie. And we call that the band camp girl. You do not want the band camp girl answering your phones.
And we've ended up with a lot of band campers.
Okay. So a lot of call center employees tend to have that. There's a tone to their voice. So you want to help them how to say, to speak properly on the phone so that they sound professional. And as far as phone calls go, there's customer follow-up. We teach them how to transfer the calls to Dennis. The process should be seamless with very little downtime for the customer. We make sure that the employee tells Dennis who's on the phone and what they need or what they want. And at the same time, they're IMing the file over to Dennis so that before Dennis picks up that phone, he's clicking on that link, he's got the customer file up, and then he picks up the phone. Because we all have a lot of customers, right? So it's hard to remember exactly every little detail about the last conversation that we had or Dennis has had with that customer. So that works well for us. Also, calls to existing customers, resolving issues, upgrading services, adding other locations. We train them on all those aspects as well. And as far as customer follow-up goes, we develop simple follow-up scripts for our assistants. And we practice with them to listen to how they sound. I would suggest this if you're going to hire somebody, ask yourself, do they sound insured? One question we always think about, is the customer going to trust the total communications of their company to an agent who is represented by someone who does not sound confident or competent than Capra? So we need to watch how they sound. Okay, we also train them on emails. There's initial emails, and that we send to customers, and we're replying to emails, forwarding emails, and either to customers or providers. We train them on quotes, requesting quotes from providers, pre-qualifying locations, and sending out quotes via GeoQuote. It's one, and I guess, and anytime there's something new that comes up, of course, Dennis will spend time with the employee to make sure that they know, like for example, the new proposal system. We'll be spending time with Rebecca. Yes, make sure that she knows that very well. And paperwork. We obtain information from, for the paperwork from the customer. We try to keep the newest application forms on file, and we, request a lot of paperwork from providers as well. So we train the employees on all those aspects as well. And it's important to note that we do not allow new and trained employees to send emails, quotes, or complete paperwork without a lot of training, and not until they have demonstrated that they can handle the basic aspects of the job, such as the phone calls and emails. And we review all emails and quotes before they are sent out. until the employee can do those specific duties correctly for 1 month, or before they're allowed to do anything independently. So there's a lot of, we call it babysitting, but it's just a lot of, hands-on training, especially at first. And when we start working together, Dennis and I sit down with the employee on the first day, and we openly discuss the training procedures and the employee expectations. We do this the first day, and at any time we or the employee feel it's necessary. Dennis has an open door policy. We want the employees to feel comfortable coming to him with any questions they have or any concerns they have. We work to understand each employee's gifts and their asset to our business. Each employee has unique gifts that we're watching to develop. We try to work on fitting them into our team. So the next thing is, understanding each person's role and their performance to our team. So that's something that we discuss with them on an ongoing basis because they'll develop new skills and to contribute to our team. And also, we give a lot of constructive feedback. We're both very verbal, and but in the beginning, we provide feedback throughout the day, and then weekly, or whenever we feel the employee needs it.
We tried to set it on vibrate, but we got these new iPhones, and they get the best of us sometimes.
I'm still trying to learn.
Answer it like Bandcamp girl. Give me a presentation.
And it's really important for us. It's really important for us to be as fair to our employees as our budget will allow. We believe in paying for quality, and we do try to pay higher than the prevailing rate in the local community. We pay hourly, and we provide bonuses for good performance. If Dennis Green is doing well on the scoreboard, then we're all doing well as a group. And so we try to, we do show the employee the scoreboard. We show them, what our goals. We talk to them briefly about our goals, and we try to make them feel a part of the team. We do provide 4 paid holidays a year, paid sick leave and vacation days. And the holidays that we pay for are Christmas Day, New Year's Day, 4th of July, and Thanksgiving. We do not offer long-term incentive plans. We're not interested in keeping an employee past the time that they want to stay. If they're not happy working with us, we do not want them there. We found that if an employee's not happy, generally their productivity and quality of work is just not the same. To manage our payroll, we use a company called ADP, and I believe they're a national company. They automatically calculate pay, taxes, and required withdrawals, and they deliver our paychecks overnight. So it's all part of the fee that they charge. And yes, employees do add another level of challenge to the business, especially for us. We believe that it's worth it. And just in closing, I just wanted to talk about some things that we've been through and how employees just, this business has helped us. Initially, we did not plan on hiring employees, but we found that even with the 2 of us working full-time, and Dennis was working more, that we just weren't satisfied with the quality of the output of our business. And so, at the same time, approximately about 3.5 years ago, I developed an unexplained nerve condition that wasn't resolved until 3 weeks ago when I had surgery. So for the past 3.5 years, we've really been going through those challenges. And Dennis also had a health challenge last year. And our leads were turned off for approximately 2 to 3 months. And but during this time, our income increased. And also, last year, I wasn't very involved in the business because of some of the problems that I had physically. And our employee worked with Dennis and helped us maintain our business, grow our business, and that's been a great thing for us. It's really been a blessing. We've been able to experience business growth and customer retention because we've had these employees, and we think that they really helped us a lot.
Okay. Any questions?
Dennis?
My phone doesn't have an off button.
Yes, it
Can you
does.
believe that? Or at least I can't find it darn thing. Yes.
Dennis, will you let everyone know how many resumes you've been through, how many interviews, and how many employees?
Well, how many employees? You really want me to tell? Okay. We lost count. Before we got the first employee that we were satisfied with, we were at 18 employees.
Okay, we tried 18 different employees.
One at a time?
One at a time. And just a second. And we, to answer the second part of the question, we screened 600 people, okay, before we hire somebody. So we have a screening process of listening to how their voice sounds on the phone before we leave and meet them. Because so much of their job involves being competent on the phone. Now, one thing I will mention is that we live in a very, very depressed area. I would say if you were like comparing it to another area, it might be like Appalachia. Okay, we're in deep South Texas, and right by the border, and the education system down there just isn't very good. So it's really hard to find people that understand profession, being professional. Now, Dave, you had a question.
How many actual employees do you have now?
We have two at a time. We have 2 employees. Yeah, we have one vacancy. We just filled it. She's starting on Monday. Yes.
You can actually answer. I was wondering about so you do hire them as true employees, not subcontractors. You're taking care of the record keeping and taxes. I saw that up there.
Right.
Are they full-time or part-time employees?
Full-time. And the reason we don't go with contractors is we just didn't feel like the way we employ them and the way we need them to work, you know, as a team, on premise, with our equipment, we didn't fit the classification of contractors. Roger?
Yeah, there's a couple of rules too you have to watch out for independent contractors. Did be real careful about that. And then I want to ask you, Dennis, so you don't hire anybody that says, I'm calling about the T1?
Yeah, that's, I think, see, Roger and I talk a lot. We talk probably daily, okay? And so sometimes I vent on him. And yes, we don't think that a customer that is going to turn over their entire communication system to us is going to be very impressed with somebody who says T1 like they're describing a space alien. And we run into that quite a bit, okay? So, yes, we're calling, this is the office of Dennis Green, and we're calling to follow up on your Ethernet. Okay. So we work with them as much as we can, but there's a point where we have to draw the line. After we lose a few customers.
Yes. What percentage of your total revenue is your payroll?
You know, I've never figured it out, but I would guess it's very close to 50-50.
Wow.
And that's one of the things I think we got on one of the slides, is that we don't make as much as a lot of you do at this point, because our focus is on investing in the business. Okay? We're growing at a speed that we're very happy about. And what we do is once we get to the point where our ratio is going up, we'll hire another employee. And believe it or not, I know this part you're probably going to have a hard time believing, but we never run out of work. Okay? Even with 2 full-time employees, we're still having a hard time keeping up with all the work.
Wow.
Yes, John?
Do you now, or I assume not, but do you have plans in the future for if, hypothetically speaking, you sold a circuit with a carrier who refuses to communicate with the customer prior to the light actually showing up on their doorstep, to have the employee, work with the carrier to say, hey, I think I can have an update?
We actually have our employees help us a great deal in that area. We operate very closely to the way Tim and Lori operate, except that I don't know if they do this or not, but we actually have the employees stay right on the phone with the providers during customer service calls, because we've had so many negative customer service agents. And so we keep them on the phone. Either Kristen or I or one of the employees, depending on the situation, will be on the phone during the call to hold the customer service agent accountable.
So you do allow the employee to talk to the carrier and say, hey, can I get an update on the circuit which hasn't been provisioned yet?
Absolutely. We're on them. That's one of the reasons why we never run out of work, is because one of the things I learned early on is we have to babysit providers. We lost tons of business, okay, the first year, because we thought we'd sell the T1 and they'd provision it and away we go. No. Okay? We find that if we're not watching that provider all the way through the provisioning process, we have like weekly tasks. We go back and check on them. And our employees, we have a very, very good employee, by the way. The one employee that was like the 18th employee, she's almost to the point where she could replace me. Okay? Sharp as a tack. Okay? And so yeah, we watch those providers very closely, and they really do a great job of helping us in that effort. Yes, Robert?
At one point, I thought you had somebody virtual. Do you still have a gal that works offsite with you?
Yes, that's Rebecca. That's the employee that I was describing that should probably replace me. She was working on premise, and she moved. Her husband, she got married, and her husband got a job with the Border Patrol, and she moved 200 miles away. And it would have been quite a loss to lose her, so we worked up on a virtual arrangement where we have video conferencing set up so that she can see me and hear me at all times, and I can see her and hear her at all times. And the third employee can see both of us as well. And we work very closely as a team. I try to hear everything that's going on, so that when Chris, like in the situation that Chris described, where somebody's going to transfer a call to me and transfer me the file, I usually know it's coming because I can hear the conversation. And so I'll stop what I'm doing, and unless I'm talking to another customer, and focus on that and be ready for that call. Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Lori?
I just have to say, you should point out, Chris and I have had this conversation so many times, and I know a lot of you guys asked about hiring people that are qualified, knowing the technology. And Chris and I talked about this, and I know you've mentioned before how hiring a good person is so much more important, because you can mold that person to what you want them to be like. And I mean, you shared that, and I think
Yes.
it's important to let them know, because you guys have done a fantastic job with Rebecca. She is just absolutely wonderful. And I don't know her background, but you don't have to have somebody who is another dentist. You don't have to do be dentist. Just get a really good quality person.
Thank you. Rebecca's right. She came from retail, and she was she's a young lady. She was managing like American Eagle and Old Navy and things like that at such a young age. She was 24 when she came to us. And she was one of those people, when we asked her to write about herself, she filled an entire page, and we'd never seen that. And not only did she have great grammar, but she had a lot to say. So that impressed us. What I was going to say about what we do is that dentist works really hard to make sure that myself and the employees stay away from stressful customer situations. And that includes answering technical questions. I am not a technical person. Like Lori said, she's not a technical person. So anyway, so they do not have to feel intimidated about talking to customers.
Yeah, I wanted to say one more thing about that. We take very strong precautions to make sure that the assistants and Kristen do not get left on the spot. One of the things we ask the assistants to do is to identify themselves as assistants right off the bat, so the customer does not expect them to answer questions. So as soon as they answer a question, as soon as the customer asks a question, that phone comes to me immediately. And of course, the question is an excellent sales opportunity as well, but it helps the confidence of the employee. Jeannie, go ahead.
When you put an advertisement in the paper to get a new employee, how do you identify it? What does it say?
Well, we constantly change that. Did you all hear the question? No. What do we say in the advertisement for the employee? Okay, and we're constantly evolving on that. Because it's a position that we continue to, it's a pretty hard position to describe. We call that person an administrative assistant, okay? And because the advertising is so expensive, it's about $800 a month, okay, with our local newspaper. We have to be very careful how many words we use, so sometimes we keep it that small. If we had more space and it wasn't so expensive, we'd say need to have excellent computer, phone, skills, and to have experience of supporting a sales team. Yes?
Who makes the first point of contact with the lead, say, that you get through telarus?
I do. I call all leads first, okay? And I call them first, and maybe second, but if it gets to the point where we're chasing somebody, that's when it goes to the assistant. Another thing about that is that we don't stop calling. Well, we call about 5 times, okay? We really squeeze every lead. Pretty much they have to tell us to go away before we stop working with them. Now, don't get me wrong. We don't pressure them. We try to put them in charge, but we don't assume communications. We want to hear them say no before that lead goes in the junk bin. We call Fred Flintstone, Barney Rubble, I'll call anybody, okay? And we've gotten some pretty good sales from Barney Rubble, too, once we find out his real name. Carson, Neji.
Forgive me if I missed it. Did you say that, have you ever dealt with any sort of employment agency services to try to place people at all?
No, we don't. We looked into that possibility, but they're more expensive than just hiring the employees straight out because you have their share of commission. Plus, they don't care about the quality. At least the ones down in our area, they're going to refer the next person on the list, okay? We want the ability to screen 600 before we hire. We've had without the screening, it's been quite a challenge, okay, with the employees that we've hired. We've lost a lot of customers over it, so I would advise you to be very careful to screen first. Another thing that Kristen showed on the screen is the first criteria is would you want them in your house? That was the biggest mistake I made to start with. You know, I've hired hundreds and hundreds of employees in my past careers, okay? But one issue I never considered was, would you want them in your house? Because I've always worked in other offices, okay? So I would have all these criteria laid out, no consideration about whether we go in the house or not. And we ran into several challenges in that area. So that's part of the interview we don't talk about, is are they a person we feel comfortable having in our home? It's a unique aspect you've got to consider when you have a home business. Yes, sir.
I know, as you mentioned, Dennis, that salaries for this sort of job will be different in different parts of the country, but I do wonder what you pay your people. Could you share that with us?
Yeah, we're the new hire we just hired gets $12 an hour, and I don't think I would mind if I tell you she makes $20 an hour plus bonuses. And the bonuses are based on group performance, okay, based on the scoreboard, okay? So she gets, I think it's a $500 bonus if we reach a certain level. Yes, David?
They come through your admin portal. They don't have full access to your financial information.
Rebecca has full access to everything. Rebecca's running our business while we're here, okay? And we trust her with everything. One of the things we do that I love about the back office is that we set everybody up with their own admin, including me, okay? Because it identifies who says what. We keep meticulous notes, okay? And we used to have to use initials underneath and dates and all that stuff, but with the new admin changes, every time we each sign in as our own admin, and so it says Dennis Green above, but anything I write, it says Rebecca above anything she writes. Did that answer your question, Dave?
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, the initial employees don't get all the information, okay? One of the big problems we ran into, again, we had to learn the hard way. Just to give you one example, we had a customer that we'd been working for 2 years, okay? And he finally came through and bought a nice DS3 from us. And we had a new employee, she'd been working about 2 years. That we were out on fishing boat because Kristen's folks had come and she received the fax, right? And she thought she made the sale, okay? So she was never the same after we got that order because she didn't think we were paying her enough. So we don't show them how much we make now. Rebecca's the only one that sees how much we make. Yes, Chief. I'm sorry.
Did you say that your business has grown since you've taken on employees?
Exponentially. I mean, because we started at 0. And I need to back up on it. Before Kristen got sick, we were doing pretty good. We had a good team going. But when Kristen got sick, then I was just doing everything poorly. Okay? It was just like not following up with VARs as much as I'd like, not following up with existing customers. But the reason we keep hiring employees, based on how our salary goes up, is because the growth has never stopped. So the trend line is still going up. Somebody over here had a question.
It sounds like you follow deployment from every step of the way, which is golden. Following deployment every step of the way. Do you pay as much attention to the follow-up on turbo tickets and acting as that buffer between the client and the provider?
Absolutely. That's a big reason why we have employees, is because following up on those issues, customer problems, is the greatest opportunity we have to show our value. Very similar to what Tim and Lori said. Did that answer your question? Did I understand correctly?
And then will the carrier, do you find that the carrier will get back in touch with you rather than when you contact the client?
Sometimes carriers, get back to us instead of the client.
Right.
Sometimes they do that, but again, it's an opportunity to build communications if they do. Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Yeah, sometimes they do that. Sometimes carriers resist talking to our employees too. We're very careful about what our employees are able to, or have the authority to say to providers, because we don't want to burn out our credibility. So Rebecca has full access to our providers, but the new employee will all be structured. They won't even be able to talk to providers for a couple months down the road until they have comfort level with them. Paul, and then Roger.
You have had so many employees, how do you get rid of them?
Well, first of all, it's very scary, okay, because any time that could blow up on you. That's why we are trying to be so careful about hiring. Okay, we don't like losing employees, but we like losing customers even less, okay? We're very upfront with them. If they're having problems, we work with them daily. And what we do is we document all issues. At first, it's very informal, because we know that we expect them to come in knowing almost nothing about the business. They don't understand our system, so we're very casual, but we work with them very closely. We invest a lot of time in training. But if they plateau early and they're just not getting it, and they're drawing our time, and poor communications with customers is costing business, then we document. Each time we talk to them, you know, at that point, we're documenting very closely. So they have a very clear understanding of what the issues are. We have, like Kristen mentioned, we start off with a very clear set, a full page of expectations, and we'll compare performance to those expectations, and then we'll document that. So when we lose an employee, it's not a surprise to them. In fact, sometimes they go before we have to terminate.
And just one more thing, I don't have a lot of employees, we haven't had to fire them all. Where we live, before we pay as well as we do, I think we have a problem.
That was another lesson we learned. You get what you pay for.
That's what we say. Yeah. We pay for quality. Yes, you do get what you pay for. We did not get the quality employees, and sometimes they just want to show up for work. So that, you know.
Can I answer that? Yeah, actually, that's a miscommunication on my part. We haven't terminated 18 employees. I would say out of the 18, maybe 6 or so. The rest just find the job to be a little bit stressful or very hard for them to do good at, and so they just don't show up sometimes. Roger?
And you encourage, once you sign the customer up, you encourage them to call you with service billing issues, or do you also give them the option of calling the carrier's customer service?
We always give them the option of calling customer service first, but we watch like a hawk. And we let them know that if they're having any issues whatsoever, they're doing us a favor by contacting us and letting us get involved. Yes, sir?
Do you allow Kristen or your employees to handle customer call-in 100% without involving you, or do you require that all customer calls at least, you know, talk to you at some point before it's resolved, or do you let them just do it 100% without interrupting you so you can maintain your time selling?
Sure, and there's 2 parts to the answer to that. Number 1, I don't allow Kristen to do anything. She allows me. Okay. I go around talking about being the head of the household, but it's when she lets me. The second, more serious answer, though, is I try to watch as closely as I can. And in the case of Rebecca, by the way, I'm surprised sometimes. I'll look at that back office and notice that I haven't talked to the customer at all, but the deal has been closed. Okay? And there we have many customers who have been generated that way successfully. I try to stay on it to the best of my ability, but it can be overwhelming. I'm not one of these people that think I'm the entire cure or the solution to everything. I'm a big believer in delegating, but delegating with all the responsibility. Yes, Joe.
2 questions. One, are you concerned that Rebecca may decide someday she just wants to become an agent?
Yes, I was concerned about that, but we had her sign a no-compete agreement, okay? It's pretty rigid. All employees now, we require to sign no-competes and non-disclosures.
And the other question is,
I don't know how enforceable they are.
Of the employees,
yeah, they look good.
Of the better employees that you've hired, is there a certain demographic? I mean, for example, are they college students or college grads or retirees or housewives? Or?
You know, first of all, we always try to get the most mature person we can find, but for some reason, all applicants that we get are people that are young. Okay, we've never been able to hire an older person. We don't discriminate against younger people, but we want a mature person in there. Rebecca, for example, like Chris mentioned, was 24 when we hired her. She was a college graduate, but she is the kind of person that wants responsibility. And even though she wasn't the managers of those major stores she was talking, that Kristen was referring to, she was the person that was designated to run them, okay, at an early age. So we just try to hire the best person who does the best on the interview, and we try to cater the interview on what we need to be successful business. Dave? Oh, Dave, you still have a question?
Yeah,
okay.
I was just wondering with Rebecca, are you allowing her to pull in a fresh lead now and start working it and then take it all the way from scratch all the way through closing and follow-up?
Absolutely, yeah. Rebecca, usually it's in my absence, okay? So like right now, I can't be the first person to talk to somebody, but that's working really well. Another issue that's very important about Rebecca is she knows what she doesn't know. Okay, so she'll bring me in at the drop of a hat. Okay, I'd say about half the customers she talks to, anything having to do with networking or complicated phone systems, phone service, she'll bring me in, and I try to stay readily available for her. Sir?
Is she hourly or salary?
She's hourly. Hourly with bonuses.
And you find that she just works 40 hours a week primarily?
40 a week. You know, that's another thing about me is I'm very concerned about exploiting people. So they're not expected to be there till 8, and they leave right at 5 o'clock. And we never ask them to work in after hours. Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. We really do try to do the best we can to take care of it. Looks like we're running out of questions, eh? Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Outstanding, Patrick. Outstanding. I'm really impressed.
Again, I'd like to thank Dennis and Christy. You really do a fantastic job. It's fun to watch as people develop systems, people build. You know, it's amazing how much experience we can gain just by listening to someone else for a few minutes. You listen to them and the number of ways they've been through, the number of resumes they reviewed, and you've got it all distilled there in a few slides that they've given to us. And thank you for that. It's a lot of life experience they've handed to us, and hopefully that'll lead you to fewer mistakes. And when you go out to hire, you'll have an idea of what to look for, what not to look for, and kind of some steps to go through. Also, thank you again to Tim and Lori. We're going to our last presentation of the day. After that, we'll have some awards, and then we'll go to dinner. So I'll hand this over quickly to Patrick and Lance.
All right, everybody. The end of this conference is rapidly approaching, and I'm actually gratified that Lance and I's presentation was squished down so that you guys could get as much glory and Tim and Dennis and Kristen as possible. They're absolutely outstanding, and really that's what this conference is all about, is best practices. It's not about us marketing, even though for me life is marketing. It's not about convincing you to use Telarus. It's not about convincing you that our tools are the best. It's not about parading around our awesome TA plaque, even though we're grateful to have it. It's making a to-do list for you to go home and say, you know what, I came away from that conference with 5 things I'm really going to do. I'm really going to look to hire somebody. I'm really going to use the back office system a little bit differently and sign myself up as an admin so we can track each other's tasks. I'm going to go and have my wife maybe start calling on customers that I've already signed up just to see if they're happy and people I haven't contacted in years and years and years. And so hopefully you come away from this conference with concrete things, concrete items on your to-do list that will actually help you improve your business. Andrew and I have already showed you on the IT front what we're trying to do in terms of developing new IT tools to help you tool up your business. Now, Lance and I are going to talk a little bit about what you can do in a practical sense to grow your business, and that's to help you find more customers and help you grow your business. So say you've got everything in place. Ultimately, at the end of the day, apart from everything else, you're still going to need to grow, whether it's through farming, whether it's through leads on the internet, whether it's through networking, whether it's through advertisements in the newspaper, whether it's through your Plus site. We're going to kind of go through all of the different ways that you can grow your business and be more effective. I'm about to present, if we were a big company, we would have these cool badges that we could swipe in the door and get through different aspects. And always underneath your picture, you kind of have like your badge number, and that's usually your employee number. Well, this guy over here has our Telarus badge number 1. He was our first hire. In fact, Adam and I actually used our savings account to pay his salary because we didn't have any money, but we couldn't imagine ourselves growing without Lance. And just like Dennis and Kristen quickly learned, that there's a glass ceiling above everybody's business. Everybody's business has one. And it's your job to figure out where that glass ceiling is and figure out ways to punch through it. For us, Lance was our punch through. We were working with him at New Edge, And as far as we could tell, Newich was the greatest carrier ever. Our stuff went through, our prices were right, our commissions were accurate, everything was great. But what we didn't realize is that he was putting on a show. We went to the Newich Partner Conference, we hear all these other masters griping and throwing out all their dirty laundry all over the place in this Masters forum. And Adam and I are like, is this the same company? Because we have no problems with it, but it was all because of this man right here. And Lance he's got a tremendous, and Dennis brought up the word communication. It's a communication opportunity. Well, this man, Lance, is a master communicator. You wouldn't know by hearing him on the phone that he's so petite, but he carries a big stick. He's very, very intelligent, very, just awesome is the best word I can use to describe him. So with that, what we're going to do is now segue into just a very brief presentation on how to grow your business, some ideas that you can really take away in addition to what you just heard. And with that, I'd like to present to you your Vice President of Marketing, that's me, Sales.
One thing that Patrick taught me, and it has really been, if you've worked with me at all, you've probably heard me say this, the number one thing I learned is the power of marketing. And from a sales perspective, most everyone in here, if you're a really good marketer, if you're bad at sales, you go find a day job pretty quick in the marketing field. You can't make money if you can't deliver revenue. But there are a lot of partners out there that are a lot better at selling than marketing. But what we find is that's what punches through that glass ceiling. You've got to be able to market and find new opportunities or find more business within your current customer base. And so that's really, ironically, for a sales presentation, we want to talk about marketing. We want to talk about trying to find more opportunities within your customer base and outside of your customer base beyond what Telarus is able to help you provide. So first of all, again, you've seen this with every presentation that we've shown today, is simply our net revenue growth, that our book of business. And why that's so important is it's really representative of your business. We don't sell anything. We're very proud of that. We only deliver business that you bring to our carriers using our contracts. So this graph, some of you are actually on a much steeper growth cycle than what we are. Some of you are not quite as steep. This is a representation of all of your business that you put through our company over the last 5 years. So thank you for the growth, but really know that this is not our business, this is your business. This is the growth that we have created with you, and we want to keep growing that up. And so we need to find ways to help you continue to break through your glass ceiling. And so we're going to talk about, in this portion, leads and how we drive more of those opportunities into your business. You have the... So where is the growth? Again, this is a general slide that's been reviewed that LPS revenue is flat. And we are working with different product sets to grow that. But let's simply look at the facts. Where is the revenue coming from? Instead of marketing to you and telling you about the great things we're going to do, let's just look at what we've done. Look at the growth within the VAR segment. If you were to just set that as a slide, really, I don't like the word VAR anymore. I like the word referral partner. Someone who can give you business. Who cares what the base of their business is? If they have business to bring to you, that's a good partnership. So for VAR, just think someone who has opportunities, who is not qualified to fully sell and manage those opportunities for telecom services. VAR is a nice default, but it's certainly not the full measure of that revenue growth. That revenue growth is coming from a lot of different sources, and ultimately, all of it are partners that are referring business to you. That you enter those partners into our back office, that you're able to enter those for them, or that they've entered them into the back office that routes to you, and that you've sold services that have booked and generated commissions. That's what that revenue growth looks like. And that's something that, again, we started talking about it here, and it did not take very long for that revenue growth to continue. We've seen a very steady growth, and we expect that to continue exponentially growing over the next couple of years. On self-generated revenue, that's what I really get excited about. The VAR revenue shows that our systems are doing a lot of things that you need them to do to be able to generate that revenue and continue to manage those relationships and grow it. Self-generated revenue is where you've simply chosen to bring your business to us because we're the best house for that business. Each and every day, as Adam said, you make decisions. You choose where you want to put that business. A self-generated opportunity, you can obviously do with that whatever you want. Steve Roy, I believe, this year had the most self-generated business of any of our agents. And I have a lot of appreciation for that because I know he has options, just like all of you do. And he has chosen to put that business with us. And when we look at that strong growth in self-generated revenue, that's where we see some of the greatest opportunities for our company to grow and where we see some of the greatest opportunities for you to grow. A good example of self-generated revenue, what looks like self-generated revenue in our house, is a referral. A partner who simply gives you the name, a customer who gives you the name of another customer who you outbound and are able to offer services. That doesn't have compensation tied to that referral most times. That means more money in your pocket, more long-term growth, higher margins for your business. And that's where we see a lot of the growth coming from. Let's go ahead and...
How many of you guys remember back in 2004, all of a sudden we came onto the scene with this brand new company, all this internet, hardly anything else going on other than the internet leads. And how many of you remember, even way back in the heyday, Lance said, don't get addicted to the web leads. They're not going to last forever. You've got to find different ways to grow your business. You've got to find referral partners. VARs, even though that was the word back then. Sorry, Lance. I'm just kidding. How many of you remember Lance saying that back in 2004 for some of you guys who have been around for a long time?
I have a question.
Was he right or was he not right?
He's right. He's right. He was right.
Okay.
But I have a question regarding VARs. Now you call them a referral partner, Lance. If they don't sell PBXs, if they don't sell anything related to telecom, and they want to be a referral partner, don't we sign them up as a lead gen only?
No. Actually, you can, again, that's why the word VAR to me is a dangerous term. It blinds you from the reality of what this business is. You can actually, without going geeky, for those of you who are not as familiar with our VAR back office called Venus, you can actually set a referral partner up that you would call a VAR in our system and simply disable certain views where all they would see when they log in that back office is the ability to enter a lead to you. You click another option and then the only additional thing that they see in their back office is a funnel of all the leads they generated to you. Do you want someone, well actually, do they want to drop it and run? They don't want to see it, they don't want to track it, they really just hope that a check shows up, like many cablers out there want, like many referral partners out there want? Or do they actually want to track this information and see what you're doing with their funnel and grow a residual stream with you? You can do either of those, and they don't even see the equipment side. They don't see anything else, and they're not called a VAR.
It's the same process.
Absolutely.
Where did you say you signed them up?
Okay, actually, we're going to get into that just in this next slide. So we have 2 more minutes until the award ceremony starts.
Okay.
In those 3 things you saw in the previous slide, that revenue comes from 3 different places. And those 3 different places have very different characteristics. The first is a self-generated lead. If you look at the self-generated leads in our system, you'll notice something very striking. The average sale price is north of $1,000. Why? Because agents like Steve Roy are putting in $5,000 MPLS. Right? And that counts as a single self-generated lead. The close ratio, the number of leads that go in as self-generated to the amount of ones that actually turn into sales are very high. If you come across 5 opportunities that a customer has referred to, you're going to close about 40% of them, which is great because if you only have so much time, which all of us do, making 5 phone calls and closing 2 sales is very profitable. And again, the increase from last year is nearly 30%. It's our highest growing segment. So you guys can see, with the managed and farming and everything else that we're going to get into here in just 1 second. But that's really, if you want to get on board and get into the future, that's really where the future is going. Second, the VAR / I put this in for line, / referral sales. These are people who are around telecom but don't make that their expertise because, I mean, look at us. We're here at a conference. We're getting educated. We've invested, literally millions of dollars in geocode at this point, and we have the specialized software. You could call us, if this was a college program, you guys would have masters and some of you PhDs in telecom. These other people who sell Cisco gear and all sorts of stuff, they're associate's degrees in telecom. They can sell maybe a T1, but they don't have enough information to really wrap themselves around carrier services like you guys do. You guys know when prices drop. You guys know when promotions come down from the carriers. It's a full-time job to keep up on all this stuff. And so don't discount the value that you bring. You have a lot of knowledge that you're going to bring to people. And don't be afraid to find referral partners and say, hey, I'll be your carrier guy. I'll be your telecom guy. You interface with the customer. I'll get you your proposal. I'll get you your paperwork. You get assigned. You look like the hero. and I'll do everything on your back end. And that's what we're doing with the partners that signed up with telarus4. All they do is their business. And Rob and Dan, they call on those customers or those VARs, and they make sure, look, I'm your carrier guy. Send me your stuff. And pretty soon they start relying on those guys, and it's like a drug. They get addicted. Now they love selling carrier services. They love getting that commission, and they love that Dan and Rob stay up to date on the promotions. They love that we know who to integrate. We know what red phones to call carriers. We know all of this stuff. And we provide a very valuable service to those guys. And those sales also up 21% from last year. And those average sales are around $768. Why? Because a lot of that includes voice. If you get into any type of voice or SIP or any type of VoIP, and most people are like, you know, like Kristen and Lori, they're like, no, talk to Dennis, talk to Tim. Because those guys have the special knowledge. And it's not a day two, it's not an easy sale. And that's why they use us. Now you go down to the bottom, and I love internet marketing. It's my passion. It's what I do. But it's kind of the hardest place to make money. It's kind of free money and stuff kind of comes in. It's kind of magic. But at the end of the day, the average deal size is $450, and that's going down every day with every Telenis and Megapath and Covad deal you got to sell. And it's the wireless and the POTS. It's going to get even better. We're going down in price on those web-driven leads. Close ratio is 1 in 30, so now instead of making 5 phone calls, getting 2 sales, each worth $1,200, now you're making 30 calls to hopefully make $450 in ARPU. Wow, that's sign me up. And it increased 8% from last year, but the year before it actually did. We're in the process now of really vamping that up, like Adam said this morning. We're not walking away from that revenue. We, in fact, intend to grow it. We generate leads in other categories that are more upstream. But at the end of the day, only so many people do Google every day. And Megapath and some of these other places that have all these direct guys sitting there, and they just throw money at the Google pay-per-clicks. You know, we're only going to get so many organic search engine leads. Even if we go and we put all of our yearly budget into pay-per-clicks, it's still only going to generate a finite amount. But you know what? Every time I fly in an airplane to a place, I always look down and I see masses of humanity, buildings, buildings, buildings for miles, and I think every single one of those places has a phone line. Most of those places have a T1 or some type of service. Do you know how big your universe is? It's massive. Yet on the internet, only so many fish swim up the river every day. And we're sitting there fighting for a couple of guppies, and you can go noodling like in Texas, and they'll stick your arm in there and plot these big, massive fish. He showed me this noodling thing on YouTube last night. I didn't know what noodling was until these hicks just stick their arms inside these big mud holes in these ponds. And the catfish bite them, and then they pull it out as the things hook their teeth into their arm. They try to rub around their gills, and then they hold this big fish by the bear neck. That's pretty cool. There are a lot of fish out there. He's going to sign it. It's in June is the World Championships in Oklahoma. Chris Schubert, he might be doing it too. You guys might buddy up. So first off, let's talk about the self-generated leads. Where do they come from? And Lance will talk a little bit about self-generated leads, like he's already started. Thank you.
Self-generated leads, again, are one of my favorites. Your favorites, they should be because they have the highest margins. Self-generated means you generated the opportunity. Does not necessarily mean you made a cold call into a business or that you went door knocking, although those are legitimate ways of driving new customers. There's a lot of other ways to drive business that qualifies as self-generated and gets the same margins. Certainly the best way are referrals and farming of your base. Something that Lori talked a lot about. Every single customer should be getting contact regularly and asking them, who else, if you like my service, who else can you refer us to where we can have that conversation. They're not going to be instant leads in terms of they need service today, but they're relationships that you're opening doors to. And oftentimes they're leading you upstream. The customers that you have will often lead you to slightly larger customers if they find a strong enough value. If they don't, ask why and work on improving your business. But asking for referrals is something that I know can a lot of people can avoid very easily, but it's one of the most profitable and easy ways to grow your business. Farm also, to simply reach into your business and find out what else is there. I know that from our law, I can't tell you the percentage, but I know that a massive amount of our customer base that you have sold have a single service at a single site. Does anybody think that there's not more there? Every single customer? Is there a customer with an internet line that doesn't have a phone? Or vice versa? or email, or share docs. Every single customer you have has more business in it. And simply asking what else is out there. Do they have other locations? Doing a little web research to find out what else you can offer them. And to service them, as Lori does, as simply a helper. That's one of the things we talked about with Lori very early when she started doing this with Tim, is how do you open up that door? And what she found was, all she's asking is, what can I do to help you? And then by inferring that some of the things that she can do to help are fixing bills, dealing with circuit issues, getting them made numbers for care with those vendors, helping them with other services at that location, helping them with similar services at other locations. It's simply one of the ways that she can help customers. And we talked about it, and oftentimes they first bring some issue, some bill issue or some circuit issue, and right after that, the second that's fixed, is when the next deal drops on the table. That's where the farming and the referrals start, because they realize that she's not selling, she's simply trying to help them. And when someone thinks that you're generally trying to help their business, they really turn it over to you. We all have limited resources, especially the businesses out there that are dealing with the shrinking economy. And they would love someone to turn to for all their communication services. So farming and referrals, I would really say, are my top two. If you're not doing that, build your method. Talk to your channel manager. That's part of what we're here for. James, Thomas, and Mike are not simply here to help you log in, to get you in touch with a vendor if you have an issue, to help you with that manual quote. They're also there as business competence, to help you come up with processes and best practices to grow your business beyond what you could without us, with another master or by going to a carrier direct. And that's one of the values that we can add in your business, is helping those. A couple other points. Again, I'm going to try to run through the rest of them pretty quick. Whatever your consulting method is, this is something that, well, Steve already used your name several times, so I'll just stick with you today.
Let's use hers next. Go ahead.
Brenda, we've talked a lot about, Steve and I go in conversations where we talk about what's the value of business. Beyond pulling a contract and helping a customer out when they have an issue, what is the value of your business? Well, I don't know. One of those things could be, do you do TEM consulting? Do you work on network design and engineering? Is that something that you could do? Is it something that you're capable of doing?
They would have to class.
Do you have an ancillary business? I know that we have partners in here who either sell PBXs or offer different kinds of services that are complementary to telecom, and they've developed a telecom revenue channel within their business. So there's lots of different ways you can, but make sure you know what it is, and if you can't answer that question, think about that. Talk with us, and let's try to work together to find an additional value for business to make your customers more sticky. We certainly have a lot of ideas, but ultimately that's your choice, both in choosing the direction and then applying that and building that new value in your business.
Lance, the last part of these are kind of marketing in nature. It has lots to do with networking, chamber of commerce, networking, sub-agents working under you. Team Links is a great example of that. When you talk about what you provide, hey, grab some subs. Start helping them with their quotes, helping them with their opportunities, bring them in. The whole purpose of Telarus is to really help you punch through the ceiling. And whether you do it through employees, whether you do it by being a web marketing gorilla, or whether you do it by hiring 100 subs. We've got software where you could have 100 sub-agents, where you would be bigger than half the master agents that are exhibiting on the floor tomorrow. And it's all right there within your grasp. Offline print. We talked a little bit about ads for employees, but I don't know about you, but I see a lot of empty billboards around the freeways where I live now. I guarantee you probably find some good deals there. Airbay Design Partners, who we work with, who does, you'll see our booth tomorrow, he designed that. He can design you a bill. I mean, it's not within the realm it's within the realm of many of your budgets. Telecom-related trade shows for things that are on the periphery, things like point of sale, things like kiosks, things where businesses have lots of sites, like say like a fast food convention. I don't know many fast food chains that are one single restaurant in one single city and that's it. They're almost always franchised, they're almost always everywhere. You also have your own marketing initiatives, putting geocode plugins on your own website. Also, again, coming back to the theme, your own email, print, newsletters. And I should probably just scratch out print, just put email. But emailing your customers and maintaining that communications channel. So much happens every day. You'd be surprised at what might interest them. I've been keeping mental notes, and I've been toying with a Telarus system that hopefully we could push out through some systems so we wouldn't get blacklisted. But allowing us to put up a newsletter every month to go out to your customers based upon what we see with the carriers, and then you could your customers enter out to that newsletter, and it would go out with your name, go out to everything. But if you got a customer that's a high-end customer, you don't want to trouble them with that stuff, you can say, just take them off, don't worry about it, and maybe we do that. And I think that would be a huge value add that we as a master agent could provide to you. But I think it's a good idea, and I see some yes. I'll probably put that on my to-do list. Is Danny Steer here writing all the stuff down? Okay, good.
Patrick, one of the things that you just mentioned, and when you hit that refresh button on the GeoQuote Plus sites, a new article pops up each time, and we manually take that article and send it.
Yeah, well, that's more for search engine content, and that's a little bit different. We actually put that stuff there, not really for humans. The only thing that's of any value on your site is the actual price tool. Everything else is fluff. Just the straight up. All right. So, self-generated leads. What does Telarus do to help you manage this? What else do you do? There's task managers we talked about, and the great thing is that we've heard from people that actually use task managers, admin assistant access. You can set up people to actually log in as you, but not see certain things, and you don't want them to see team nodes. I mean, we almost have a testimonial session on that feature. People use it, people swear by it. Contacts and important dates. This is something not a lot of people know how to use. If you are on a customer record and you click on the contact name, it has his name, address, phone number, his fax line, his cell phone. You can put all of the different. At the bottom, there's a thing that says important dates. So say he drops it, hey, I gotta go, it's my wife's birthday tomorrow. You type that in, boom, boom, boom. Your admin assistant is now working that deal 9 months from now, 3 months before renewal, and sees, oh man, they have an anniversary coming up. Let's send them a card or something. Queue up a card, got an anniversary. It really keeps you in contact with the people. A lot of you are familiar with Salesforce. It has a similar feature. Renewal mining. And I actually have a link to the webpage, but we just don't have time to look at it. If you want to look at it afterwards, I'll pull it up so you can see, like, hey, I've got an important data miners that integrates with my contact list. I didn't even know about that. We're so focused on quotes and products and pricing and carrier offerings. A lot of times we forget these little nuances that exist right underneath your nose in the back office. Same-time email system. This is one of my favorite features of the back office now. I'm not an agent, but just saying from an IT perspective. To be able to talk to a customer, oh, you're going to renew in 6 months? How about we talk again in 4 months? And the guy will say, yeah, sounds great. Well, you're going to write an email. Per our conversation on February 28th, you asked me to email you 4 months from now. Well, that happens to be today. I was very impressed with you. Your business looks really awesome. Let's chat. Boom, send on 4 plus 2. That's June 28th, 2009. Let's do it at 8 a.m. in the morning, so it's right on top of his inbox. Send. On to the next customer. That thing will sit and sit and sit, and boom, hit his email box right exactly when you said it was going to happen. And all it took was an extra 60 seconds after that conversation to queue that thing up. I mean, that thing right there makes you look like a superstar.
I actually had a partner here today that asked, what else can I do with your system? Right now I'm just using it to quote. And GeoQuote is a very powerful tool. There is a lot else, and one thing that we try to remember is we put on these presentations, we're not trying to teach you anything. Because you can't learn in this environment with this many people. It's not one-on-one enough. What we can do is try to instill that there are some other options, and that if you want to learn, if you want to engage us and do different things, we have a dedicated support person for you. We have other people within the business who can help you develop these. And there's a lot more to us, just like any software program, than what you find walking in the door. There is a lot within this. If you find things within this, write it down now. Put down what interests you and get with your channel manager so that we can work with you to help you take advantage of these things.
The last thing I want to bring up, and I put this on the slide just because of you, Dennis, by the way. We kind of go back a long way, but even before Telarus. And Adam and I were actually talking about you the other day. We thought, man, Dennis Green, he came in here, and correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't have a real strong commercial telecom background.
Didn't know a T1 from a...
Didn't know a T1 line from a clothesline, right, as John likes to say. Right? And we saw you just within a few years pop to the top. And Adam and I were talking about, well, how did Dennis go from being a non-telecom sales guy? I mean, Steve Roy, years and years of experience. A lot of you have, all of you 50-something, y'all, you're old. Y'all smart. You have lots of experience. You've been around telecom forever. New people can come in to Telarus system, but how do they get smart enough to have all these phone calls come directly to them on network deals? Dennis has invested in education. Almost every vendor training that we've done, when you log into your back office, you see on the right-hand side vendor training. You can click on a link and look at them all. ACC, XO, Newbox was talking about. How many of you guys were on our last call? You know, I bet you Dennis raised his hand because Dennis is on every call. He makes it a priority in his business because he doesn't want to be an associate's degree in telecom. He wants to be a PhD. You can't be a PhD if you don't go to college every day and write your dissertation and do all the things required to get educated. Dennis attends, I'm not going to say everyone because I don't want to put him on a pedestal just for him to go to dinner and go, well, I kind of have been to that. But he attended a lot, and if he missed it, he listened to the recording that we put on the back office. And he never missed anything. And so as soon as we got on the phone call, a vendor would come as a special guest. Dennis would have very informed, very articulate questions like, wow, how do you know that? Well, he went to the training. He went to the back office. He goes to the back office sites of the vendors. Every vendor, if you go to your vendor back office links, we actually have links that tell you where XO link is and Level 3's channel site is, where you can go and they have their own PowerPoint presentations. In fact, the stuff you see in our back office is almost the tip of the iceberg. There's so much information out there, and if you ever hope to be able to farm and do self-generated leads effectively, you've got to know your stuff, because you know what? You're out there against the direct guys, and I don't mean this to be a plug against the direct guys, but the direct guys we've worked with, they're smart. And you know what? They know their product. Why? It's the only thing they sell. They don't have to know their products like you guys do. So you gotta have to educate yourself even that much extra, because as soon as they get on the phone with the direct guy, and the direct guy knows what he's selling, he knows his price points, he knows his discounts, he knows what his network can do and can't do, and you're on there going, oh, let me check with Nuvox. There's some carrier on the East Coast. Let me get back to you. Boom, that's gone. That's right. Call Nuvox direct. The Nuvox direct guy's gonna eat your lunch. And that's what we're finding is as you use the tools more, as you become more educated about the vendor's product offerings, you start becoming more efficient. That close ratio from 2 to 5 goes to 3 to 5, goes to 4 to 5. That 1 in 30 internet lead may go to 2 in 30 if you're lucky. And but the VAR, the referral leads, and the self-gen leads, your close ratio, your personal close ratio is going to go much, much higher as your education improves. Next, Lance's favorite are referral partners. And we're really running short on time, so we're just going to blow over this. Who are potential referral partners? Lance, tell us. Direct sales reps.
Lots of different opportunities. Read through them. Fact is, anyone who has a deal. There's a lot of people out there who work for companies who are very open that if their carrier, if their company cannot offer the service to fit the customer's needs, they would rather that rep work with someone who's able to service the customer, so that at least the customer comes back to that rep every time until they have something that they can service. I'm not saying go against any carriers that have policies and say no. That's up to them. There's a lot of companies out there that are very open to their employees working with outside independent partners to bring in business for stuff that that carrier themselves cannot serve. There's lots of businesses out there that cannot service all of the needs for telecommunications for the customers, and they are more than willing to roll those over to you, whether it's on a shared compensation or whether it's simply to make sure that the customer always comes back to your referral partner to ask what they can do next. Sometimes they'll bring it to you, sometimes they'll do it, service the business themselves. But if you have that connection and you can do whatever they can't do, whether it's a PBX vendor or a rep inside a carrier, you'll be getting the calls every time there's revenue on the table that they can't collect.
This presentation will be available in your back office, so if you're writing frantically to get all these ideas down, don't worry about it, we will have it for you. Next, Bart, how do you squeeze those deals out of them? How do you incent them? Well, number one, pay them. Pay them cash, out of your commission. Pay them now. I don't know about you, but $10 a month. Maybe I'll give you the referral, maybe I won't. I don't know if it's worth my time. Right? You've got to make it worth their time. We found on our side, when we pay people, just give them a flat $500 for a lead. And $500, they feel that right now. Who was it? Was it Rich Gannon talking about the time value of money? Or was it Charlie? I can't remember. I'll give it credit to the XO guys, one of the XO guys. Pay them now. XO has a referral program for their direct side. You call up the XO referral desk. Hi, I have a deal. Can you close it for me? Yeah? Where's my check for $1,000? It's on its way. Thanks. Done. And their one office in San Francisco, I think, closes over $100,000 a month, just in referrals. That's it.
As an example, I know Rob, when Rob first joined us, he worked directly with some bars that that had come to us over the years that had not received very much attention. Went back and had a few opportunities that generated. At the time, we had a setup where we would pass through the spiffs 100%. So it was not something so reliable as where you would know exactly up front Had a couple of times where we closed deals that had, say, $500 to $1,000 spiff. I remember specifically one instance where we sold 2 circuits that had a combined spiff of around $2,000. And Rob called them and let them know that that check for $2,000 would hit their box, along with whatever compensation agreement we had, just as soon as we got it within the next couple of months. And they were floored. A, that they didn't even know it was out there, but B, that we were the kind of partner that was going to make sure that they were taken care of for their efforts. And that they didn't have to know. We were just going to do what the right thing was, what our agreement was as partners. And I believe the result was about 5 minutes later, he got 3 or 4 additional opportunities out of the same partner. Once they know that you are in it and that you find out what's important to them and you deliver what they need, and they in turn give you the